Students, today in this video we will be starting with the introduction of chapter 3, Human Reproduction. I am Mrs. Deepika Singh Rajawat, PGT Biology, Kendriya Vidyalaya CMM, Jabalpur. Now when we talk about human reproduction, let us discuss some characteristics of humans. Humans are sexually reproducing. There is no incidence of asexual reproduction in humans. In this picture, you can see two individuals. One is a woman and the other is a man. In a population, if two type of individuals exist, then it is called dimorphic condition. Di meaning two, morphic is for morphology or appearance. So the woman produces egg which are haploid and male produces sperms which are diploid. Together at the time of fertilization they combine to produce zygote and restore the diploid condition. The zygote develops into a baby that is delivered and the baby grows into either male or female. The third very important characteristic is that the humans are viviparous. That is, the fertilization and development is both internal. Now, in this chapter, for convenience sake, we can divide into two parts. The first part is the reproductive system. In this, we will see what are the different parts of the reproductive system, their functions, and how do they perform. Then, the second part of the chapter will include all the events that are occurring in the reproduction. That is how the whole process is going to take place. Now let us see what are the parts of the reproductive system in general. The male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. Now, irrespective of male or female, both the systems have common characteristic, that is common components, that is primary sexual organs and the secondary or the accessory sexual organs. Now let us see what are the parts of reproductive system and their functions. The primary sexual organ is the one which will be, number one, producing the gametes. In case of female, it will be the ovaries producing the eggs, and in case of males, it will be the testes producing the sperms. Secondly, these organs also produce sex hormones which are responsible for maturation of the reproductive system parts, development of sexual characteristics, as well as regulation of the normal physiology or functioning of the reproductive system. Now let us look at the secondary or accessory sexual organs. They include all the ducts as well as the glands which are associated with the system. These will be helping in transporting and nourishing, providing nutrition and development to the main offspring. Then the second part of the chapter includes events of reproduction. Now, the first event would be gametogenesis, that is formation of gametes, sperms in males and ovum in females. Second step would be insemination, that is deposition of sperm in the female genital tract. Third would be fertilization, that is fusion of the sperm and the egg. How it is happening, how the sperms will reach, how they will recognize the ovum, how they will penetrate, all these details we'll be studying in the later part of the chapter. Then there is implantation. Since we are viviparous, humans are viviparous, the developing embryo should immediately come in contact with the mother's body, develop an attachment so that it can exchange materials from the mother. Then there is gestation, that is the period of embryonic development. It's approximately 9 months or 36 to 38 weeks in humans. All the major developmental changes we will be studying in this. Once the baby is ready to be born, then the process of childbirth is called parturition. How it is controlled, how does it occur? Very briefly, we will study that. Now, humans are reproductively active after puberty. When a child is born, it is not yet ready, the body is not yet ready, it is not yet mature for reproduction. So, in the first initial 11 to 13 years, there will be the growth phase. Remember, you have studied growth phase in the chapter 1, where the individual is preparing for reproduction. So, similarly in humans, approximately between 11 to 13 years, the body then is ready for reproduction, and this period is called puberty. This is under the control of pituitary hormones or gonadotropins, follicle stimulating hormone FSH, and luteinizing hormone LH. Now, when we will study all the events of reproduction, most of them are similar in males and females, but there are some striking differences. You will automatically come to know about them once you have completed the chapter. But one very interesting difference is that, for example, the sperm development in males begins after puberty and continues even in old men. Whereas in women, the egg production or the ovum production begins before birth, then it is arrested at the time of birth, and then continues after puberty till the age of approximately 45 to 50 years, which is called menopause, and then the ovum production will stop. Now, before we continue, there is an interesting fact I would like to share with you regarding the development of the reproductive system in the embryo stage. Now, all of us know that in humans, sex is determined by chromosomes X and Y. XX is the female and XY is the male. Now, it is very interesting that it is the Y chromosome which has a gene called testes determining factor. Now, if the zygote or if the developing fetus is having the Y factor, the testes determining factor, then in that case, the male reproductive system will develop. The rudiment of that is called Wolffian duct. It's very interesting that in a developing fetus, both the rudiments of both the system are present. Wolffian duct for males and Mullerian duct for females. So if the testis determining factor is present, then it is the Wolffian duct which will develop, and once the testes develop, they will produce what is called Mullerian inhibiting factor. Under the influence of this, the Mullerian duct will degenerate or atrophy. And then once the testes are developed, the testosterone will give rise to the rest of the parts of the male reproductive system. Whereas if the Y chromosome is absent, that means the testes determining factor is absent. In that case, the Wolffian duct will degenerate and the Mullerian duct will then develop into the female reproductive system. This is one interesting fact regarding the development of the reproductive system. Now let us look at the parts of the male reproductive system. The primary sexual organ, most of you know, is a pair of testes which will be producing the sperms as well as the male sex hormones, collectively called androgens, and the most common one is testosterone. The secondary or the accessory sexual organs include the epididymis, the vas deferens, the ejaculatory duct, the urethra, the copulatory organ penis, and the glands, a pair of seminal vesicles, single prostate, as well as a pair of bulbourethral glands or Cooper's glands. Now let us look at the location of the male reproductive system. It is located in the lower part of the body, that is the pelvic region, and it contains one pair of testes, all the accessory ducts, the glands, and the external genitalia, that is the penis and the scrotum. Now let us look at the different parts. This diagram shows you the front part of the male reproductive system and all the different parts are labeled. We'll take up each part separately. This is another view of the same. This is called the sagittal section. In between you are able to see how the system is related with the digestive system and other systems. Now let us take a look at the testes. In an adult testes, the shape is oval and it is 4 to 5 centimeters long and about 2 to 3 centimeters wide, and the testes are covered by a dense covering, the tunica albuginea. Now, very interesting concept is that the testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch of skin called scrotum, and the reason for that is that for sperm production the temperature required is 2 to 2.5 degrees less than the body temperature. Then if we see the vertical section of the testes to see the different components, you can see in the diagram the outermost covering is tunica albuginea and it has penetrated into the cavity of the testes as septa. Different walls are there, dividing the testes into many compartments. Many means about 250 compartments, and each of these are called testicular lobules. Then in each testicular lobule there are highly coiled tubules, about 1 to 3 of them, and they are called seminiferous tubules, and inside these the sperms will be produced. Now here is a picture of a transverse section of testes under the low power of the microscope. You can see the round tubules which are lying embedded in the connective tissue. Certain cells are located in the connective tissue also. Some blood vessels are also seen. Now each seminiferous tubule is lined on its inside by two types of cells. One are the spermatogonia or the male germ cells, which will divide by meiosis and give rise to sperms. The second type of cells are the Sertoli cells, which are actually the nurse cells as they provide nutrition to the sperms or the germ cells. And here in this picture, this is the picture that is drawn in your NCERT. This is a diagrammatic representation of the section under the microscope with all the different labelings. Now it was not very clear, so let us try and see these cells in a diagrammatic enlarged section of the seminiferous tubule. Here you see a single seminiferous tubule and different types of cells inside it. The first type of cells are the spermatogonium, which are lining the seminiferous tubule. These are also called the male germ cells or the germinal epithelium, a special type of epithelium that is going to give rise to sperms. The second type of cells you can see are these purple colored tall pyramidal cells with the dark purple nucleus. These are the Sertoli cells, and definitely you can see some of the sperms which are embedded in these Sertoli cells. A few sperms you can see are also in the cavity of the seminiferous tubule. These are ready to be dispatched. Then outside the seminiferous tubule, there is the connective tissue, and those spaces, they are called interstitial spaces. And very interestingly, these also contain some isolated cells, or maybe in groups of 2 or 3. These cells are called interstitial cells or Leydig cells. And these are very important because they are synthesizing and secreting the male sex hormones, androgens. Apart from this, you can also see that there is blood supply. The capillaries are there for providing nutrition to the cells in the testes. And there are also some immunologically competent cells which will be definitely, as the name is suggesting, helping in the defense. Now it is here an enlarged, this picture is showing an enlarged section of a single seminiferous tubule. You can see that the germinal epithelium very clearly, although Sertoli cells are not very clear. And in the center you can see the long tails of the sperms or the flagella of the sperms. So from the germinal epithelium, which is lining, the sperms will be formed towards the center. The same picture, a part of that same picture is enlarged, and you can see some of the dividing stages also in this section of a part of seminiferous tubule. Then we come to the other parts that are the accessory ducts. Now first of them is the rete testes. Seminiferous tubules, they open into a network of small tubules called rete testes. You can see the network, and all the seminiferous tubules are opening into it. And these rete testes, this network, then further opens into 10 to 20 tiny vessels called vasa efferentia, which ultimately open into the epididymis. Now once it is epididymis, this duct is outside the testes, and the next epididymis then collectively opens into the vas deferens. This is the diagram which is there in the book. Not very clear. I hope this other diagram should clear the concept. Then outside the testes, what are the accessory ducts? They are partly storing, like epididymis stores the sperms, and other ducts will be helping in transporting the sperms to the exterior. So let us see, it's the epididymis which have been receiving from the vasa efferentia, then the vas deferens from the epididymis. You can see the vas deferens is a very thin tube. It comes out, goes into the abdominal cavity and takes a loop over the ureters, over the urinary bladder. Now here is a picture, a close-up of the bladder. The vas deferens you can see taking a loop over it, and just below that there are the accessory glands, seminal vesicles and a single prostate. Now these seminal vesicles are also pouring their secretions into the vas deferens, and then collectively they are called ejaculatory ducts. So after vas deferens, it is the ejaculatory duct, one on each side, and collectively they open into the next duct, and that is the urethra. So urethra originally originates from the urinary bladder, and on its way it is also collecting the sperms and the secretions of the glands. Then comes the next structure, and that is the copulatory organ, penis, or the male external genitalia. The end of it is swollen and it is called glans penis, and it is covered by a loose fold of skin called foreskin. Now it is made up of a special tissue that helps in erection so that insemination is facilitated. Here in this diagram you can see two types of muscle tissues, corpus cavernosa and corpus spongiosum. It's the corpora cavernosa, the two bundles of these muscles which are helping in the process of insemination. Then the male accessory glands, they include a pair of seminal vesicles, a single triangular prostate gland, and two small bulbourethral glands or Cooper's glands located at the base of the penis. The secretions of these glands are collectively, they are called seminal plasma, and it is rich in fructose, calcium and some enzymes. And these secretions, they are not only providing nourishment to the sperms, they help to keep them activated as well as provide a medium for transport of sperms to the egg. In addition to that, the secretions of the bulbourethral glands also help in lubrication of the penis. Now with this we come to the end of the structure of the male reproductive system and the beginning part of the chapter. Here I have provided some YouTube channels for your reference. For more clarity of the concept, you can see these videos also. Some of them are in Hindi also. Some have nice animations. And thank you so much. Stay safe, keep healthy. God bless.